Shout out to Jackson. He comes through via PayPal. He writes, after using humor, charm, and the Dr. Phil process up front, should we be cold and indifferent once she's interested? You should definitely show her some indifference. As you stated in the black box, interest may provide for an unpredictable outcome. However, indifference fills her with passion. Oh, this is so true. And I'm going to actually address that in the context of what we're talking about here. To your point, let me give you a short Dr. Phil story. I Dr. Phil'd this young lady. She was an Egyptian thing, very good looking, had that nice Arab African mix, which led her to have long black curly hair, nice caramel skin, gorgeous face, nice lips, good size. And she was at least 8.5 or better in the face. And you're hearing this from the big homie. I am James Bond. I've been around the world, seen them all. So when I say 8.5, I really mean that. So she's an attractive girl. I'm Dr. Phil'ing the young lady, and I say to her, tell me about your last relationship. She says, well, I was celibate for the last 2 years. I say, you don't say. Celibate. You were selling a bit because that's a beautiful thing, and if you'd like to continue, you can bring the profit back to a pimp. She says, no, I wasn't selling a bit. I was celibate, meaning that I didn't have sex in the last 2 years. I said, but I thought you just got out of a relationship. She says, I sure did get out of a relationship. It was a 6-year relationship. Count it, 6 years. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 years, but I didn't have sex the last 2 years. I said, whoa, you telling me you were with this man, told him you were his woman, but you were not having sex for a whole 2 years, and he put up with that? She was like, yes, he did. I was like, ooh, that boy's a fool. Send him to me. He needs some ism in his life, and you need to be locked in jail because that should be illegal. Why were you torturing the man? She says, well, Marquett, I wasn't torturing him. I said, well, it surely seems like you were waging psychological warfare on that gentleman. She says, well, Marquett, let me be honest with you. I fell out of love with him. I said, you fell out of love? She says, yeah, I fell out of it. I said, okay, go on. This happens. She says, yeah, I fell out of love with him. And I wasn't attracted to him anymore. I was like, yeah, this often accompanies falling out of love. She says, yeah, and so once I fell out of love, once I was not attracted to him, I just couldn't bear to have sex with him. I said, okay, you couldn't bear to have sex with him. You also couldn't bear to break up with him? She says, well, I wanted out of the relationship, but I didn't know how to get out of the relationship. In my head, I was thinking, I'm going to show you how to get out of a relationship. All you got to do is ghost them, like I'm about to ghost you because you're a nut. Anyways, she says, I didn't know how to get out of the relationship, which lets you know she was staying there for the purpose of torture. She is a broken, wounded human being, and you can only give that which you are, and she is messed up on the inside, and what she did was she took all that pain, hurt, turmoil, frustration, confusion, and she spit that out on him for 2 years, and he was dumb enough to stay there and put up with it. A true imbecile. Hurts my heart to even have to say such unpleasant words. But anyways, I said to myself, okay, you stayed with him for 2 years, didn't give him any physical satisfaction. She said, no, none at all. I said, that's curious because if you did that, were you not worried about him getting sex elsewhere? She was like, no, not really. Now, let me advise you, Saints, if you're with a female who's denying you physical satisfaction, whether you used to get it and she stopped it, or whether it's a new female you're dealing with and she's holding off on hitting the skins for too long, it lets you know that she feels she's in such a strong position, she ain't even got to worry about you cheating on her. She ain't even worried that you'll go get it somewhere else. She thinks you're so weak, such a loser, in such a submissive position, and she's so high up and so favored, and you're so focused on her, she ain't even got to worry about you getting it somewhere else. And she should expect that you should be seeking it, because are you not a human being? Do you not have drives just like she has drives? Ooh, it's a real sad thing, Saints. To your point, the Saint that sent in the tuition via PayPal, when you say that the indifference fills her with passion, it is true. And the only reason she can make a weapon of withholding the sex is because you're pursuing the sex, which is to say a woman cannot be chaste unless you pursue her. She will not be chaste unless you pursue, which is to say that you do not pursue the body, you let her offer the body. But more importantly, you do not try to penetrate that physical orifice until you have penetrated her mind and heart first. And once you have captured the mind and heart, then everything else is at your disposal. But if you fail to do that, if you've revealed your carnal nature and she knows that you are a sex-driven being, an animal, not a man, but an animal, then she can treat you like an animal and put a leash around your neck and drag you around like the dirty, dumb dog that you are. Which is why we teach this ism to lift men up. You dig? Let the church say amen. Hallelujah. We got some serious game. We're not finished. So I want you all to know, saints, if a woman has the audacity to withhold sexual gratification from you, it is one of the greatest insults, because the underlying suggestion is that you're so dominated that you won't go anywhere else for it. And you're so whipped, and she's so confident she doesn't even fear that you'll cheat on her. And she has such a lack of interest in you that she's not scared of you cheating. You see, when a woman really loves you, she is like nervous and anxious that you're going to go elsewhere. And when she really has value for you, meaning she's, okay, you're handsome, you're smart, you have status, you have personality, you have humor, you have all these things that attract women. They damn near want to keep you hidden. When they're around with you, they want to grab your arm. They want to let women know, hey, this is my man. Back up, this is my man. But if they're not doing those things, that lets you know that your value in their eyes is not high. You should be concerned. Now, let me give you a reminder. Keep that P mentality, which lets you know that you never chase the female's body. And one thing I can tell you that I regularly do is, first off, I'm very clear with a woman in terms of my standards. I might even do a video, another text analysis, to show you this text game that I ran with this female to make sure that she was abiding by my standards. See, here's the thing. You're running your game and she's running her game. The question is, who's going to be on offense and who's going to be on defense? If you read my book, The Black Box, it says swing first. You always want to be on offense, which means she's going to be responding to what you do. You do not want a situation where she's running offense and you're running defense, which is to say you're responding to what she does, meaning she's the leader and she's leading the dynamic. So you always want to be the first person to establish the standard. You dig? Now, another thing that you should observe is that the female nature is deeply inclined to insecurity. You should know that the female is inclined to insecurity. Being that insecurity is the nature of the female, if you ever get into a situation where she feels she has power over you, that means that her insecurity has been overwhelmed by her empowered feelings of either narcissism or her empowered feelings of you building her up too high. Meaning that if her insecurity retreats so low that she's making power plays and power moves on you, that means that you or some other guy has built her up too high to where she feels she has options. She feels she has control and power. And that's a very bad situation for you to be in. I'm not saying you want to lower the girl's self-esteem, but you need her to understand who the boss is in the situation, right? Like if I ever walked into my corporation and people stopped addressing me as sir or mister, I know that there's a misunderstanding of hierarchy in here and we need to reestablish that. But let me give you a clue, saints. If you don't just demand your respect on day one, it's probably not going to come. And further, if you ever let your respect be eroded, it is very hard to regain reputation, but to establish reputation is much easier. So you have to come in swinging out the gate and let her know what it is. I'm not saying be rude and or unpleasant, but I'm saying set your standard and let her know anything less will not do, it will not be acceptable. So I gave you that Dr. Phil lesson where that girl told her boyfriend that she's all of a sudden celibate for the last 2 years, and he accepted that. What he should have done is gave her walking papers, which is to say to her, oh, you celibate? That's cool. You know, mashallah, that's a beautiful thing. You're seeking spiritual enlightenment. But that's out of line with what we're about to do within this relationship. So if you want to be celibate, that's fine. Go ahead and do that. But please know that you can't be celibate with me. So when he said that, if she had value for him, at that point, she would have had to put things on a scale. And she'd say, okay, here's celibacy and here's Marquett Devon Burton. Which do I value more? And if it was celibacy she valued more, she would have left. And that's good for both of you. But if it was Marquett Devon Burton she valued more, she would have said, hey, I'm going to follow his program because that's the only program there is to follow. You dig? So I want you guys to know, if you don't have a program, in the absence of that, they're going to follow themselves. You dig? And if you don't have a program, you're not following the program, you're following what the woman wants, which means she's become your leader. And that's tragic. Further, if she sets a new standard and it's out of line with what you believe in, with how you live, if you don't address it straight away, well, guess what? You're going to suffer. You can't do it in like after you think about it. You can't do it after she's been celibate for a month and then all of a sudden say, oh, hey, you know how things used to be? That's how I really like it. No, sir, it won't work. I also want to mention to you the importance of having a stable of women, which we call options. Historically, simple men think of wealth in terms of financial capital. Undoubtedly, another component of wealth are people. And within that subsection, or within that greater category of people, there's the subsection of women. A woman will always be a great asset to you, especially if she has genuine affection. For people work for money, but they work even harder when fueled by emotion, because love is the most powerful influence in a woman. So you'd be wise to have a stable of women who love you, because they will support you financially, emotionally, and otherwise, however you dictate. Now, having a stable of women is absolutely critical, and it also gives you peace of mind. When you have one of those females who wants to start misbehaving, kind of like the one I described earlier, you will have no problem letting her know, oh, well, if you want to act like that, baby, you can hit the bricks. You can kick rocks. You can make an exit. Deuces, you're not going to have any problem going to that option, because you know you have backups. You could pull some of them subs off of the bench.